one of the things that, as we work on, and we're hoping that this panel exhibit will kind of serve as a springboard for our continued work on actually having the larger gallery experience at the State Museum in Albany, is that there seems to be this kind of perception in the broader public that Attica was the end of the kind of the culmination of the prisoners' rights movement rather than the beginning. And for instance, I mean, the statement by Congressman Herman Badillo, who was one of the Attica observers, he's describing the demands. He says that one sees that these proposals represent not a riot by prisoners trying to escape, but the desperate last gasp attempt of 1,200 men to achieve a decent standard of survival. These efforts and this just desire for a basic standard of survival, and the lack of kind of that minimal demand is still something now 50 years later that is even being debated, is something that hopefully people looking at this exhibit and learning more about Attica can at least shed some light on.
If it's shown broad and wide, it will open up the topic of, what is incarceration, what is rehabilitation, or what are we doing? It has to open up that conversation so people can start reimagining, exactly, what do we want in a system that's have to place people in for not punishment, but for violating laws and rules of society. We have to come up a new way and a new system to address that. Because what we've been doing doesn't work as we see. And we have such a great technological advancement today. Why can't we use our new technology and the new creative minds to create something new that's just? We have the ability to do it, but we don't have the will. We still are stuck in these divisions. Many of the men and women who are incarcerated, they still are seen as the other, not inclusive. And so there's a ways to go, but the dialogue could begin with this exhibit.
The hope is that this exhibit can bring that conversation into venues and into places that are not necessarily part of it right now. They're not, for instance, the State Museum. The majority of our visitors probably don't think about issues related to mass incarceration on a consistent basis, and because the system in the United States and in New York State is designed to put people behind concrete walls and to kind of keep them out of sight, it really doesn't lend itself to the broader conversation in the way that people really involved in criminal justice and mass incarceration issues recognize that it needs to be. And so yes, we're hopeful that the panel exhibit, which will be at various venues around the state and public libraries and on university campuses, that it brings not only the history of Attica, but also how Attica fits into the broader narrative of mass incarceration, and at least serves as a starting point for some of these conversations that you're talking about.